I'm not sure what I want anymore, she said as I caught her on a date with another man. So I left her at the restaurant and went home. Now he's humiliated her online, and she's begging for my help. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. It's funny how a single moment can make you reevaluate everything. For me, that moment wasn't a car crash or a major life event. It was walking into a restaurant on a Tuesday night. I had been with Qley for 5 years. 5 solid, stable years. We met in college, and I felt like we grew up together. We weathered the late-night study sessions, the terrible first jobs, and the endless, what are we doing with our lives, conversations. While all our friends were bouncing between jobs and cities, we had a plan, a blueprint. I was a civil engineer, a job I loved because it was about building things that last. She was an aspiring photographer, and I was her biggest fan. I bought her the expensive lenses she wanted, helped her set up her first portfolio website, and spent countless weekends holding the reflector so she could get the perfect shot. Our plan was simple: save up for a down payment on a house, get a dog, and then get married. Lately, though, the plan had started to feel like my plan, not ours. She'd become distant, always on her phone, and always working late on a new project. When I'd ask her about it, she'd get defensive. You wouldn't get it, Alex, she'd say, her voice tight. It's about artistic integrity. You're so stable. I need to be around people who challenge me, you know? Who see the world differently. I tried to be understanding. I told myself it was just a phase, a creative slump. So, I gave her space, kept my head down at work, and saved up more money. I even started looking at engagement rings online, thinking a new, exciting chapter might bring us back together. That Tuesday, I finished work early and decided to surprise her. She'd been talking nonstop about a new trendy bistro downtown, a place where all the creatives hung out. I figured I'd get us a table, and we could finally have a nice, normal dinner like we used to. I walked in, smiling, and scanned the room. My smile froze. There she was, at a small corner table, laughing. Her hand was resting on the hand of the man across from her. It wasn't me. He had a messy bun, a perfectly curated beard, and wore a black turtleneck. The kind of guy who probably thought a job was a 4-letter word. She was leaning in, her eyes wide, her entire body language radiating a connection I hadn't seen from her in months. My blood went cold. I felt a weird mix of confusion and anger, but mostly, I just felt numb. There was no confrontation, no yelling. I just walked over to the table. I wasn't even sure what I was going to say. Maybe a part of me hoped I was wrong. Maybe this was an elaborate, late work meeting. Alex, what are you doing here? She said, her smile vanishing and her hand pulling away from his. Her voice was thin, a fake smile plastered on her face. I looked from her to him. I thought I'd surprise you. You said you love this place. The guy, a smug look on his face, spoke before she could. Hey man, I'm Leo. We were just talking about art and inspiration. He had the tone of a high school bully trying to sound cool. We're on a date, Qley blurted out, her face flushed with a mix of embarrassment and defiance. Look, Alex, this is complicated. I let out a single, humorless laugh. Complicated? I asked, looking directly at her. It doesn't seem very complicated to me. Who is this really? She sighed, as if she was the victim. I told you this is Leo. Look, I'm not sure what I want anymore. I need to figure things out. I feel stifled, you know? You're a great guy, Alex, but I need to be with someone who gets me on a different level. Leo chimed in, leaning forward with a self-important look. Listen, man, she's not interested in a guy who doesn't understand her artistic soul. She's tired of being stifled. I looked at her one last time, at the woman I had been building a life with, the one I had planned a future with, and saw nothing but a stranger. She was a different person. Entitled, smug, and completely unrecognizable. I gave a slow, deliberate nod. You want to figure things out? Okay. I turned to Leo, a polite, detached smile on my face. Have a good night. And I walked away. No begging, no yelling, no dramatic scene. I didn't even look back. I just walked out of that restaurant and into the cool night air, leaving a chapter of my life behind. I got into my car and just drove. Not home. Not anywhere. I just drove until the numb feeling in my chest started to feel like a real ache. The silence was deafening, but it was a better sound than the words she had just said. The drive was a blur. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. I wasn't crying, wasn't screaming. It was worse. It was a complete and total silence, the kind that follows a sudden, violent explosion. My brain just couldn't process it. 5 years of plans, 5 years of loyalty, 5 years of thinking I was building a life with someone, and it all evaporated in a single, smug sentence. I'm not sure what I want anymore. I ended up at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. I sat in a booth, a cold cup of coffee in front of me, staring out the window at the empty streetlights. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I knew it was her. I let it buzz once, twice, a third time, before I finally took it out. It was a text. "Alex, please pick up. We need to talk. This isn't what it looks like." I stared at the screen for a long time. The irony was so thick it was suffocating. This isn't what it looks like. What did it look like, then, Qley? A harmless art consultation? A friendly game of footsie with your creative soulmate? I didn't reply. I didn't even feel angry anymore. Just a profound, hollow emptiness. Over the next few days, I became a ghost. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't respond to her texts. I didn't check social media. I packed a suitcase of my things, just the essentials, and stayed with a friend on the other side of town. While she was probably at Leo's place, wrapped up in her artistic integrity and freedom, I was systematically dismantling our life. I went to the apartment when I knew she was at work. It was a strange, silent ritual. I packed my books, my clothes, the coffee maker I bought, the stupid little plant I had somehow managed to keep alive. I took my half of the kitchen supplies and the framed photos of my family. I left her everything else. Our big screen TV, the expensive couch, all the furniture we had spent months picking out. I left it all behind, like I was leaving a hotel room I'd never visit again. The final act was the hardest. I went to the bank and removed my name from our joint account. I transferred all the utility bills, gas, electric, internet, into her name only. I canceled the subscriptions to our streaming services and magazines. Our life, on paper, was now just her life. I didn't even feel a sense of revenge. It was just a clean break, a final, definitive cut. It felt like I was closing a business deal, not ending a relationship. After a week of silence, her messages started to change. The initial pleas for me to talk to her turned into accusations. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're just running away. You're being so immature." Then a week after that, they became desperate. "Leo and I had a huge fight. He just doesn't understand me like you do. Please, Alex, I miss you." I never replied. I just read the messages, felt a flicker of something that wasn't quite pity, and deleted them. I knew that she was now fully on her own. It was a terrifying thought, but it was also a peaceful one. I had always been the one to hold her up. I was her anchor, her safe place, her boring, stable man. And she had traded that for a guy who, I was quickly realizing, was the human equivalent of a paper boat in a storm. My only thought was that she'd have to find her own anchor now. And for the first time in 5 years, I was free to find mine. The silence, which had felt so deafening at first, was finally beginning to feel like peace. It was just me, my small suitcase of things, and a phone that was finally quiet. The months that followed were a blur of work and quiet. I moved into a small studio apartment near my office. Nothing fancy, just a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out onto a quiet street. I worked late, went to the gym, and got back into my old hobbies. I started building model airplanes again, the kind I used to make as a kid. The meticulous, step-by-step process of it was exactly what I needed. It was about building something from nothing, carefully and deliberately, unlike the life I had just watched collapse. I was slowly coming back to myself, no longer defined by a we. It was just me, and it was peaceful. I'd occasionally get texts from mutual friends, trying to gauge the situation. "How are you doing? Have you talked to Qley?" I kept my answers vague, polite, and brief. I wasn't going to turn them into pawns in her game. I didn't say anything bad about her or Leo. There was no need. The truth, I was beginning to learn, would come out all on its own. And it did. The first hint of karma was subtle. A post on social media from a friend of hers. It was an awkward, blurry photo of Qley and Leo at some gallery opening. The caption read, "Leo's art is so emotionally raw." The comments, though, were a different story. "Is he the reason you and Alex broke up?" One person wrote. "I always thought you two were so perfect together. another said. Qley quickly deleted the comments, but the damage was done. The rumor mill was churning. Then, things got worse for her, and fast. One evening, a friend of mine, David, sent me a link. Dude, you gotta see this. It was a viral video on a photo-sharing app. The caption was a single, mocking phrase. When your muse is a materialistic fraud. I watched, horrified and morbidly curious. The video was a shaky, angry rant filmed by Leo. He was pacing around what looked like his cluttered, messy studio apartment, ranting into the camera. His voice was dripping with venom. So my so-called muse, Qley? Yeah, turns out she's just a poser. She's not here for the art. She's here for the clout. She thinks she's so special, but all she ever talks about is money and how boring her last boyfriend was. She's a fake, just like all her artistic friends. He then showed a screenshot of a text message conversation. It was between him and Qley. It was full of her complaining about me, calling me financially boring and too predictable. There were even a few messages where she was explicitly talking about how she was only dating him to get access to his connections in the art world. I felt a surge of cold satisfaction. The truth, ugly and raw, was out there for the world to see. Leo, in his self-righteous rage, had just publicly humiliated her. He was exposing her just as she had so carelessly exposed me. The fallout was immediate. Her artistic reputation, which was thin to begin with, was in tatters. Her friends, who had been so quick to side with her in the beginning, started to distance themselves. Her posts went from getting hundreds of likes to just a handful. People were now leaving sarcastic comments on her photos like, "More of that raw emotion," and "Looks like the financial stress is getting to you." That's when her frantic messages to me began. Text 1. Alex, please, I need you. He's a monster. I made a huge mistake. I deleted it without a second thought. Text 2. I am so sorry. I know you're the only one who ever truly cared about me. Please, can we talk? My life is falling apart. I blocked her number. The calls started coming from different numbers. I'd answer, hear her voice, and hang up immediately. She even got her mom to call me once. Alex, honey, her mom said, her voice laced with a thick layer of guilt and pity. Qley is in a really bad place. Can you just talk to her? She says you're the only one who can help her. She made her choices, I said calmly, cutting her off. I have nothing to say to her. I could hear the indignation in her mom's voice. But she loves you. She says she never stopped loving you. I have to go, I said, and ended the call. Her attempts became more and more desperate. She would leave long, rambling voicemails, pleading, crying, and then, eventually, screaming. The final voicemail I ever listened to was full of venom. Voicemail. I can't believe you're doing this to me, Alex. After everything I did for you. I was your whole life. You were nothing before me, and you'll be nothing after me. You're a coward for walking away. I hate you. I smiled. It was the first time I had felt genuine emotion about the whole situation. She was finally showing me who she really was. Not a confused artist, not a free spirit, but a cruel, entitled woman who thought she could use me, leave me for someone better, and then come crawling back when it all fell apart. I didn't feel angry. I just felt free. 2 years passed. It felt like 2 decades. The silence was now a natural state. My life had become unrecognizable, but in the best way possible. I had quit my job at the engineering firm and started my own consulting business, specializing in sustainable urban planning. It was a risky leap, but a necessary one. The business was thriving. I had moved into a new house, a small bungalow with a garden I was slowly bringing to life. I was still single, but content. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was focused on building my life, my business, my peace. I had effectively vanished from her world. I wasn't on social media. I had a new number. Our mutual friends had all picked sides, and I was fine with being the one who walked away. The last thing I heard was that Leo had moved on, found a new muse, and that Qley was struggling to find work. Her reputation never recovered. The video he posted had followed her like a shadow. Then, I got the email. It was from a new address, one I didn't recognize. The subject line just said, "About the house." My heart sank for a moment. Our shared apartment. I had left everything, but she still had the lease. I clicked on it, my stomach tightening. It was from Qley. Alex, hi. I know this is out of the blue. I'm so sorry to contact you, but I'm in a really bad place. I can't afford the rent on the apartment anymore. They're threatening to evict me. I was hoping. I know this is a huge ask, but could you maybe help me out? Just until I get back on my feet. There was no apology for her actions. No acknowledgement of the past. Just a transactional email, like she was a client asking for a favor. She had a list of justifications, a low-paying job, the art world being brutal, the economy. I read it all. I felt a flicker of something, but it wasn't anger or pity. It was a cold, distant clarity. She was asking me, the man she called financially boring and too predictable, to bail her out after her grand adventure with her free spirit fell apart. I decided not to respond. It wasn't about being cruel. It was about being a ghost. She was a problem I had solved, a chapter one had closed. There was nothing more to say, but the emails kept coming, each one more desperate than the last. The tone shifted from polite requests to angry demands, showing her true colors. Email 2. You're just going to ignore me? After all we had. I can't believe how selfish you've become. Is this what you call maturity? Email 3. I know where you live now. I'm going to show up if you don't answer me. This is your fault, you know. If you hadn't walked out on me, none of this would be happening. This was it. The final, desperate lashing out of a woman who had run out of options. She had broken me, cast me aside, and now, when her life was a wreck, she saw me as her safety net. I knew I couldn't stay silent forever. I needed to end it, not just for her, but for my own peace. I typed a reply. It was short, polite, and as final as a tombstone. I chose the professional archetype with a touch of the ghost. My words were like a closing a business deal, showing that she was completely irrelevant to my new life. I wrote, Qley, I received your emails. I hope things work out for you. I won't be able to help. My life has moved in a different direction, and I'm not in a position to take on new responsibilities. I wish you the best. I hit send. It was the last time I would ever speak to her. I didn't block her email. There was no need. The message was clear. She was no longer a part of my life. She was an irrelevant footnote, a ghost from a past I had moved on from entirely. The finality of it was more potent than any angry outburst. I had learned that the most powerful revenge isn't about getting even. It's about becoming someone she can no longer reach. I had built a life so full, so peaceful, and so far away from the wreckage she was living in that her desperation couldn't even touch me. The story wasn't about her anymore. It was about me, and my story was just beginning. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.